Welcome to the Let's Not Sugarcoat It podcast,
where every week we bring you real, raw, and unfiltered conversations
designed to motivate and inspire you on your journey through motherhood, relationships, and career.
We're your hosts, Alex
and Bella.
Thanks for spending this time with us.
Let's get into it. So this is our finale, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo-hoo.
This is our last podcast for the season. Cheers.
Cheers.
And we have
Cheers.
three
Cheers.
lovely ladies
Cheers.
here in studio. We have Carien, Katharina, and Sanela, who have also been on our podcast through the year. And we're going to have a little fun today with some bubbles or charcuterie. Ryan says this is his worst nightmare because of chew and drink on air. But we're here to have a good time and finish up the year on a good, strong note.
Actually, maybe my sister won't be listening to this because chewing is her pet peeve too.
Well, when we're chewing, we'll just move away from the mic. But yeah, so we're going to have a little bit of a game, where we will ask each lovely lady a question about what has happened during the year and some of the wisdoms that they can share with us. And then we'll give them 1 minute.
Yeah,
and we have a buzzer that will buzz you. So you better be quick and precise because there is 5 of us in studio instead of 3.
No pressure.
No pressure. And then we'll see where it goes. So Alexandra, First I think we should have the ladies introduce themselves, give them a little bit of a snippet of what they do and who they are just to refresh people's memories because that'll be way better than me reading off a script and make mistakes. Sanela. And it's been a fun weekend we had. So we are a little bit not off today, but we're not. We're on. Yeah.
We're on. It's Monday.
It's Monday at 11. We're drinking mimosas. So reading is not my strongest.
Can't do that.
So
you're drinking a mimosa.
Think about this. All right. So I think we'll start with Carien. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Carien Wessels, and I've been in Canada now for 5 years. I'm a citizen since I've last been on this podcast. Yes. I became a citizen, so I'm very happy about that. I'm a mother of 3 kids, 3 boys actually, beautiful boys, and I work for Boulevard Magazine.
How old are your boys?
Well, 15 almost. On the 23rd of December, he turns 15, and then 17 and 20.
Oh,
nice.
Okay, welcome.
I am Katharina Kunz, and I am your one-stop body shop when it comes to health and fitness, but also thinking about the whole body wellness. So that would be also how you think and how you feel, not just how you move and how you eat, so that you can feel at home in your body.
And you are a stepmom.
I am a stepmom, a full-time stepmom to a 14-year-old girl.
Fun years. Fun years.
Yes. And I'm also a first-time author of a book called The Butterfly Project. The Alchemy of Unbecoming.
Nice.
First of all, congratulations to all of the ladies with the book and then citizenship. It's a big deal. My name is Sanela Sehovac, and I am owner of the Carpe Diem Tours / transportation. I've been in Canada for 22 years now. I have a boy, 19-year-old, and a daughter, 16.
Well, there you go.
Nice. And?
Well, you know us. I'm Alex. And I'm not introducing myself. But we can jump in unless you want to introduce yourself.
I think we should, just to remind people who we are, because we don't really talk about.
Oh my goodness. Okay, sure. I'm Alex, mom of 2. I have a 6-year-old boy, 10-year-old girl. I do marketing and this podcast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Alex.
Thanks.
And I'm Bella, mom of twin girls who just turned 11. I am a wife, and I obviously do this podcast. I also have a skincare line called Lunar Skin. It's all natural. We relaunched it in New York a couple of months ago. And I also am starting a institution with my husband for communication and leadership development. So that's coming up in the next year. So super excited about that.
Woohoo.
Okay, well, let's get into
let's
it.
get into our game.
Yeah, let's get into it, lady.
We started with a super, we didn't start light. So our first question is, what's the biggest challenge you faced this year?
Carien.
Minute. You have a minute.
Okay, I had to forgive my ex-husband for everything that happened. I really learned that if I don't move on with that, then it's kind of like me drinking poison and hoping he dies, which he never did. I just became bitter.
Yeah.
So I had to really learn to move through that. And I'm happy to say that I was put to the test yesterday, actually, to face him. And although we've had a much more amicable relationship, but kind of when I saw him yesterday, I felt in my heart, I forgave you. I'm good. I'm so freaking good. So yes, that was one of the biggest things. And then I had my 20-year-old move out. So I had the first one since I last came on this podcast that moved out. And that was a big step because, we got to give them roots to come back to and wings to fly.
Nice. Whoa, you did it in a minute. That was good.
Okay. I like that too.
I think you picked a good,
Okay.
ending. Go. Yes.
Katharina.
All right. Well, a challenge experience that I had this year is my husband went off to Burning Man for 3.5 weeks because he was doing setup and takedown. He was very excited because he's also a percussionist and he plays with DJs, creating that sort of live element. And so this was a beautiful opportunity for him. And the reason why it was hard is because he left the day, we had the big fires here, and he left that morning when there was so much uncertainty and they had to leave because they're a big part of the build crew. And as many people know, Burning Man was a bit of a gong show this year with the weather and whatnot. And you don't have access to talk all the time. But the reason why it was a challenge, and it was a beautiful challenge, is because of who I became while I went through the crunchy parts of here he's in this environment of debauchery to some degree, and a challenge. And so for me to be able to connect to the essence of him and having fun and thinking about, rather than worrying about what could be going on and putting any attention on what's not true, I channeled that into what can I do for my life?
Yeah. Finish up your
finish your sentence.
We'll allow it. Yeah, exactly. What I could do for my life that would propel me forward. So I actually let go of a habit that wasn't serving me and where I wanted to go. And so in doing so, that was what I put my attention on, and it changed everything. And we felt connected the whole way because we weren't projecting our stuff onto each other.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's good. Yeah. Sanela.
For me, I would definitely say between both of the ladies, I would say forgiving myself. I think learning to let go and not do everything, to let go of the control. And even through the challenging time this year with our business being tourism, it was hard. And I have to say, to trust the process. Whatever happens, there's a next step instead of always being that stressed and worried and can I do this? Can I do that? What's going to happen? I just let it go. And I think that was my big one because I never let go of anything. I hold on to the things. So it was a great experience and how much more relieved I feel at all time if things don't go my way or what I put in my imagination.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, these answers are
I know.
So good. Okay. For me, it's been a challenging year. My husband and I separated. So that's been a really big challenge that I've been dealing with and issues around kids. And I think also letting go of and surrendering to really the unhealthy role that alcohol has played in my life and how that's affected many parts of my life, probably over the last 2 decades in terms of self-worth, relationships. It did kind of come into my marriage there from probably COVID onwards, maybe before. But I think just really surrendering to that and looking at that and saying, okay, how has that affected my life has been a big challenge to face. And that's been good, freeing in itself as well. And just, navigating my kids' emotions. And my own emotions through the separation process. Yeah.
Yeah. That is definitely a tough year
Tough year. 3 seconds
Yeah.
under too.
Oh yeah, so I think for me, it's dealing with trauma, that the sudden death of my father, and then how that affected my marriage. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional again.
Well, your therapist was
Shit. I know my therapist says I should release the emotion, so I'm actually learning how to let go. It's the same thing about the control, because of the bloody emotions. Losing the I know. That's why we asked Ryan for the Kleenexes. Yeah, it's just surrendering to feeling, because I managed to not feel for a long time from the very beginning of this year. And just the feelings coming out in the most unopportunistic moments, like the blue gator at 1:30 in the morning, when it's like a trigger and then it's a release. But yeah, so this year, it's just learning to surrender to, the emotions, and just allowing myself to feel and be okay with that.
I feel like looking right in the book. I think that deserves some acknowledgement.
That does. I think both of you ladies have been, I don't know about how anyone else feels, but you both have been such an inspiration to me this year. Alex, your journey has been, it like ripped my heart open. And I have so much respect for what you have gone through, and vocal, being sharing that with others. Like, that's huge. And you too, that's been huge. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for what your struggles became, my inspiration to carry on in this year.
That's what let's not sugarcoat it is about. I agree with Corinne, definitely, because I'm so private. For me to say, nobody has 100%, and I'm always ups and downs with situation. My life is just how my life always been. So I'm very private. So when you say that out, and every time I'm listening to the podcast, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is inspirational to share, or even mentioning trauma. Like I know, I coming from the war-torn country, it's always in the back of your head, something like that. So it's when you say trauma, I was like, I would not admit it in a million years. And it's been this year when I'm like, it's okay. I do not care. And it does help the inspiration that your guys just so open with your feelings and to make it normal.
Yes.
And not be ashamed of them or something.
Yeah,
right?
It is normal. I'd say cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Yes. Cheers. Oh, well, thank you, ladies. Okay, well, the next question is, how did you weather your relationship this year with your significant other, and what tools did you acquire?
Do I start again?
Well, or we can go the other way if you want.
That's okay. I will be willing to do that. So yes, my partner and I, September, we were together for a year, which we want to say everything is moonshine and roses and honeymoon because it's the first year. But the reality is it's never, you go past that. But it was, I think we were 3 months in and I said, it's difficult enough to date someone that's the same culture as you. And we're both from different cultures, right? We're both from different upbringings. And that puts so much pressure on a relationship. But I'm so happy to say that I have a man who's willing. And we were 3 months in, I think, when we saw the relationship counselor for the first time. And just that willingness to work on it. Yes, we still bump heads and we still have little moments, but we talk through it. I've learned to feel the emotion while we're in it, and really sit and say, I feel that, this and this and this, just talking about it, creating space for each other and allowing that space for each other. I actually had a timer because I had to time myself to keep my mouth shut for 15 minutes because I can talk a lot and I don't have perception of time when I start talking, right? So just to create that space where we would sit down and I put the timer on and keep my mouth shut for 15 minutes and let him just process, think, and talk. And then vice versa. That's the best thing about new relationships or any relationship, doesn't matter how long you've been together. So I feel that was a great win for me this year.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, I guess continuing on the whole Burning Man experience, and my husband and I went through a breakdown in our relationship around 2016, and it was a beautiful testament to what relationship can offer, and to recognize that when we are in relationship, that's often the best things that we love about our partner is often connected to the very thing that drives us the most crazy. And so it's just remembering that in those moments, and to also allow myself to be all of who I am, even in the quirks and idiosyncrasies, and that when we can hold each other in the best light. So when David was away, and like I said, rather than getting caught up in the fear and the worry, and then that just perpetuates more fear and worry, was to feel his energy in living out a dream that he's always had, and to feel that and allow that to fuel me into my better version. And it's true, when he came back, and it was a long time. It was hard there was 3 of us wives that were back home. And we got together the day before discussing how challenging it was. And so when he did come home, and I was hosting one of my ritual experiences, the labyrinth in the front, and I told them, I said, my husband's coming home today at some point during this, and I'm just going to run and give him a big, massive hug if that's okay with you. So I was inside still. They're all out front waiting to start the labyrinth, and he came home, and they said he's here, and I just ran out and gave him this big kiss. And it was just, we talked about it afterwards, and just it's like I could feel that you were, just your energy was so strong. Our energy together was so strong. So just really knowing that there's a lot that we can do on our own outside of the communication of that we can hold space for in our own growth too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Similar to Carien, I have a newer relationship, and after divorces with Mark and I, we've been together a little bit over 5 years, but running business because both of us have few things on the go, and between teenager kids that are very strong, opinionated, and lots of European Balkan in them. We've been, and it takes away definitely from our time. And the only thing I found, it was helping me constantly reminding myself that he loves me. He has my best interest in his mind. So even if it's something that we disagree on a lot, again, because we are from different backgrounds, different personalities, different people, but we love each other so much and dearly that I constantly have to remind myself, okay, he has my best interest. He's not doing this to hurt me. He's just voicing his opinion. So definitely that was the big one. To let go and just not think, okay, this is my exit, because I always, it's easy for me to run away. I'm like, I do not want to deal, but it's the most I ever put an effort in relationship. And definitely counselor. I would always say counselor is a good one if you find someone that you connect. And we both did. He's probably more connecting with Mark, but I find it challenge. I'm like, this is a good challenge for me. I'm dealing with the 2 guys. The 2 guys that they're constantly like telling me like, well, so you hear a lot of that. I'm like, okay, I can do this. Bring it on.
Bring it on. So that's good. Good for you.
I've got a lady, a great lady.
You need a counselor on top of the counselor to debrief.
Basically, then I go to talk to my counselor, and then I bash them both.
Right.
Mine was one of my best friends as a guy. Yeah. So it was kind of interesting just how he held space for both of us.
Yeah. No, we Lee and I did the one for the couples, and then we all have our counselors. I love it. This is a side note, because like my counselor's name is Shannon and his is Helga. Oh, and I just freaking love when he's like, she's like, so me and Helga discuss this and this. I'm like, I don't know if you guys watch Suits, but Lewis has this one guy, right? And like Helga is that guy for me, for Lee. It's hilarious. I love it. Thank you, Helga, for taking care of my husband.
Oh, Helga.
My counselor basically say, I really understand Mark. We're very similar, Mark. And I'm thinking in myself, oh my God. But I swear I see it as a good challenge for me. I'm like, if I can deal with 2 guys kind of ganging up on me, like telling me, I'm like,
Then you're like, I can deal with 2 teenagers.
I'm like, okay, this is a good one for me. So
Oh, okay. For me, I think, because I did go through a separation this year. And I think that for me, what I learned or what I've navigated is, hurt people, right? And you can only ever take accountability no matter how much you want somebody to validate your side of the track. You can only take accountability to keep your side of the street clean. And so I think how my relationship has changed over the course of like almost a year separation now is just being able to remind myself and learn tools to remind myself that, we're on the same team. Our goal is our children, and we both have our kids' best interests at heart. And so being able to, even if there are times when we both definitely trigger each other, and where the hurt comes out, being able to get back on track again and being like, okay, so, here's this challenge we're facing about our situation with our kids and problem solving together. And I think I feel especially recently really proud of us for being able to do that, for being able to, go to White Spot together because our kid wants to celebrate something and stuff like that. So it feels like being able to navigate and create a new relationship from the relationship you had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, this year was really tough. This was the biggest test in my relationship. It all stemmed from how we dealt with the trauma of my dad passing and how we stopped communicating. And then we created this disconnect between us because none of us were actually talking about what was happening. And we were creating these stories around that where, I, felt like I was showing up, I'm strong, I'm holding this space, but he saw it as I don't need him because I would be vulnerable with other people, but not vulnerable with him. And he didn't want to talk to me about his trauma of trying to save my dad's life. And because he didn't want to add to my plate. So then we started really disconnecting, and I felt like we were running opposite directions, and just, he didn't want to admit it, that there is something wrong because, pride within men, he's a fixer. He wanted to fix, but he couldn't fix me. He couldn't fix how I was feeling. So that's where things started to kind of fall apart for us. And at one point, it almost came to like, what are we doing here? Why am I here? A lot of resentment, a lot of blame and shame. You're there, I'm here. We were only supposed to do this for, a year and a half. It's going almost on, 3 years, so 2.5 years of you working away. So a lot of the stories that we created were not our like actual lives. It was stories. So learning and bringing ourselves back and choosing each other and choosing to work through it versus running. Because this is the first time that I literally thought this was it for us. You say it sometimes when you're younger. We've been together for 18 years. I'm like, I'm leaving. We're getting it. Right? But this really, for the first time ever, I felt this might be the end of us. And it was so hard. It was the toughest year of my life. Not only, to me, I felt like I only had 2 men in my life. My dad and my husband, and I was going to lose them both in 1 year. I felt really alone. I felt isolated because I didn't want to share. There was that shame and blaming myself for certain things. But doing that work really helped. Yeah. So
you're doing the work. Yeah.
So yeah.
And knowing Lee and you now on a personal level, I can say the guy love you.
He does.
He's like, I'm like, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So really.
Lee, you're the best.
Stuck.
Don't make his ego too high. Just kidding, Lee. You're the best.
Actually, can I share one little thing? Yeah. That just because through your share, I thought of something that my coach, Timothy Roy, was talking about in relationship where, and this is so helpful for any of you out there that are struggling in relationship, is that think about it as a 3-legged stool. There's you, your partner, and the relationship itself is an entity. And so when we're trying to get our needs met and we're only on that tightrope with each other, we're going to butt up and we're going to feel like we're going to fall off, right? Whereas we're addressing what the relationship itself needs, and if we're both addressing what the relationship itself needs, then we're likely to not only get our needs met, but we're going to create a deeper, more fulfilling relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's my story, your story, and the truth, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then that's the perceptions and the filters that we look through and think through. Where you've come from,
Yeah.
what's your country? I mean, you've been in survival mode for 1 billion years, right?
Yes.
And he's been different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So where do we come from?
Yeah.
It's the reality of looking at that and being honest with each other, you know?
Yeah.
I had a thing where you keep your mouth shut. You speak, or the person speaks, and then I would say, whoa. Okay, 3 minutes. Just give me 3 minutes. Let me tell you. So zip your lips, no body language, no rolling eyes. Let me just tell you what I heard.
Yeah.
And then most of the times the person would go, where did you get that?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
I was like, what?
It is.
That's what I said.
It's my reality,
It's
basically.
my reality.
Yeah.
It's where I'm
It's
from.
my
right?
reality. Basically.
But exactly. It's just
Yeah.
being vulnerable, being honest and
Yeah.
open. Because you know what? Everyone has shit.
Yeah.
And if someone says, I'm perfect, I have no shit, you better bloody
Bullshit.
run.
That's actual bullshit. Yeah,
Exactly.
And it is. It's like we went back to our core values and what it means for us to be in this relationship, what this family means to us, why we got together in the first place, and what is bonding us. It's not just the children.
No.
Because children don't always bond us, you know, at the beginning. They
the
could,
opposite.
Exactly.
yeah, it could be the
Exactly.
opposite, right? Especially in this year, you know,
Yes.
with the teen
It's tough.
coming up.
It's
It is tough.
Life is tough,
is
man.
tough. Yeah.
It's no use pretending it's
Yeah.
moonshine and roses all the time
Yeah.
because it's not.
Yeah.
The reality is it's bloody tough.
Yeah.
And we need people and we need to reach out
Yeah.
because that's why we're there. We're
Yeah.
there to support each other.
Mm-hmm.
Grab your back when you can't stand up straight. Help someone up, you know? Those are the type of things.
Yeah.
If you need love, go to someone who needs it more than you.
Yeah.
Go there. Just work on it, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, that's the key thing was communication for us, for sure. Is actually saying and like listening. That's the key. Is not listening through our filters and trying to rebuttal and come out, but actually listening and hearing what the other person is saying and how am I not showing up for this person? So it's a reflection on yourself. I find if I look at myself and be like, oh yes, I can totally see how he could have done this or thought of this, or because I never looked in the mirror. It was the darkest year of discovery for me, for sure. I went diving, and when you're looking in the mirror and you're in the weeds, in the darkness, and all you see is a reflection of you and you don't like what you see, it's a shitty place to be. But once you've like actually acknowledged those pieces of yourself, and then you're willing to be like, I'm letting those pieces go because that's not the person that I am, you are so much more free to step into the person you want to be, the mom you want to be, the wife, the friend, and so on and so forth.
Totally.
Yeah, because sometimes we listen to respond.
Yeah.
We don't listen to hear.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a very big difference. Is to differentiate that in a relationship or
Yeah.
anything is very important.
But I believe also meeting halfway and forgiving yourself if you can be what really always that person expect from you. Also, my thing was like learning I'm not superhuman. I'm just human, you know, and to be, it's okay if I'm not everything that you thought I am, but meet me halfway. It's still, you know, we can't just be 100% at all times.
Yeah.
But again, remembering the core values, and I think the whole world needs to go back there, going back to our roots, you know, the family, love, and, you know, why do you get married? Why do we choose the people? Why we have a kids? What is going, you know, it's not all, like I said, you know, flowers and everything.
I freaking love that we have all these imports in. I love imports because Lee always gives me a hard time because I twist. It's like, it's not all like sunshine and flowers or sunset, whatever. She's moonshine.
You said moonshine.
That makes you happy.
But that's so important, right? But it is. Brene Brown said that.
moonshine
And
is the best.
she said, you know what, we can't, it's not 50-50. It's 100, right?
Exactly.
But it's to be honest in the days that you don't have 100.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a big thing for me this year. To say, you know what, I can. I've got 20% capacity.
I can't cook dinner tonight. I just don't want to see anyone.
I need help. Help me. Even if you mop the floor today, that's helping me,
I think asking for help was the biggest for me. I'm like, help? Like, no, I will do it. Even now when somebody's like, can I help you? No, I'm still working on that one, but I'm much better than who I was for the whole life.
Yeah.
But now when my health is like, okay, I think you need help. It's really screaming at me. That's when I'm like, okay, I really don't want to do anything today, or I'm done at 12, or I just don't want to people today.
And that's
I'm going to be staying in pajamas.
That is okay.
It's not my thing. And it's not my thing. I'm like, go. It's like, what's going on? I have to be there. I have to do this. And it's like a calendar in my head, like triple calendar for some days. And I had to say, okay, there is nothing, or scratch it. Say no. I tried to get out of this morning, and Bella is like, I will come pick you up. I'm like, okay, just a second. Let me rearrange things. There was no coming out when you say you will be there. Oopsie.
Whoops. Okay, amazing. All right, next question. Sanela, we can start with you. We're going backwards. Is parenting what you expected?
I was so young. Like, I was 23 when I had my son, 26 when I had my daughter. And really first 10 years, it was even more. First of all, you never knew you're going to love someone that much, and you can love that much. But once they turned teenagers, I was like, this is not what I signed up for. Can somebody take them back? Anybody wants them? And now it's getting again to that back. Okay, like we can talk, we can, find common solutions or understanding. So definitely there is challenges, but there is nothing more important to me in the world than parenting. Nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just going now in the middle of my season for the transportation and Big White. We're like, okay, let's just get out of the country for 10 days where they have to sit with me and not go to the gym or do their things, go see their boyfriends, girlfriends, work. You have to sit with me for dinner and spend time. There's the rules when we go. Only rules is like you have to spend at least 3-4 hours with me and then do your thing.
Oh, I love it. That's a great rule.
Love it.
Yeah,
absolutely. So if any of you have listened to my podcast, I am a full-time stepmom. I had been on a fertility journey for 6 years, including all kinds of IVF and different things that I never thought I would do. And then I ended up pregnant when I was moving to Kelowna after 8 years of trying, and I miscarried. And the whole journey, although had very difficult moments, was actually a very magical experience. And in fact, it was me birthing myself. And then moving to Kelowna, I became an instant stepmom. And it hasn't been an easy journey, even though I've known her since she was 9 at the time, and I've known her since she was a baby. And her mother and I were good friends too. We all did things together the 3 years prior to her death. She had cancer. And so it's always been a little challenging for me as the stepmom, but I'm also the rule maker. And so I had another experience this year. It had been many years since I've had one of these experiences, and I even kind of warned David, but he didn't have a chance to say anything before he got home from work, before I had already lost my shit. But it was, we have these moments where like all of a sudden I want her to understand too, that like, this isn't easy for me either. And I know that you have things and I have things, and we both have these walls. And because for obvious reasons, she lost her mom, and for me having my fertility journey, but also like the ways that we butt up against each other, the ways that like we're actually very, very similar. But I hold a different space for her than everybody else does. And I don't actually hold the kind of exceptions that everybody else does because of what she went through. And so when I have conversations with her father about like, hey, I can't be the only one making these rules. It's already hard for me. And then having the conversations with her of like, if you can just hold your end of the bargain and we don't have to have these crunchy moments, we have these breakdowns, but the breakthroughs on those are really powerful. We really, each time it happens, and we feel our walls go up and down throughout the year. But overall, I know that, especially as she's older, I know that our relationship's really going to blossom into something potent. And I know that I'm doing my role right now, and it's important to me. And even though there are times where it would be easier to say, yeah, you can just have another sleepover, or yeah, you can just, right? It's like, that's not what's right though. there's the what is right for her, what is right for the relationship, what is right for her evolution. And that's the space that I hold. And I know
you are holding love for her.
Yeah.
You're protecting her.
Yeah. That's
100%.
Yeah.
And she does feel it.
Yeah.
And she has voiced that.
Being 14, I'm sorry.
emotional.
Being 14, I have 16, and we went through that where most of the time we don't like each other. And I gave birth to her. So I think in only 5 years, she's going to start appreciating what you've done to her when she starts seeing from other people respect and values you gave her.
Exactly.
Because people start recognizing, oh, you're a good kid. You don't have, so many issues that I seen with the teenagers these days.
And she does recognize that boundary holding as a boundary holder, she does recognize that is love. So I'm grateful for that.
Yes.
Yeah. Aw.
Just repeat that question.
Was parenting what you expected?
Oh, hell no. Definitely not. So like Sanela, I had my first one at 23, second one at 26, and third one at 29. So I remember when I was on the toilet when they were young, and I had one on my lap, one was climbing over my back, and one was in the bathtub, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this parenthood? Is like, when does it get better? But now, looking back, obviously the 14-year-old is, he's 14, man. As long as we do it, you're not here for a popularity contest. I'm not here to be their best friend, but everything I do needs to come from love. As long as I have them, I don't have all the answers, but if I can hold them and love them and say, man, it's difficult. Life is weird. Kids are weird sometimes, and I love you. I think it's a very important place to be. But I saw that coming to fruition when my eldest moved out and he could come back to home, and I could see how that shaped him and how he just bloomed while he was out there. But the best thing that happened to me this year was my 14-year-old who turned around to me in the car and he was like, Mom, you know what? Since you've been divorced, because it's a thing, right? It's a thing now that we have to talk about. You have changed so much. And I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you. I thought my heart was just going to burst. I was just like, geez, man, some days you want to put a pillow over their head. So much. And other days you're like, oh my gosh, I love you. So it's just those shining moments. Keep reminding us of those moments. And you know what? What were you like when you were 14?
Horrible.
Yeah,
Think back to that. Think back to that. I was a little bitch. So
I was the perfect child.
Yeah, obviously. if we couldn't do it, how do we expect them to always be right and perfect and great? It's okay to be mad. It's okay to say, you know what, holy crap, it feels like I'm failing. I had to remove myself from some stuff this year. I was like, I cannot be here right now because otherwise I will speak in judgment. Give mommy 5 minutes to get over this and breathe, and then we'll go. Just have a chat about this. It's really important to me that we have a proper chat about this. It's being honest in those moments. 100%. Stop pretending that you don't fight or you don't have anything that's going wrong in your life or whatever. Like I sometimes get home and my kids look at me and they're like, and I said, I really had a tough day. I need some time. And that's okay. It's okay to be honest with them because they just want honesty, right? Yeah. It's very, very easy. Love them.
And they can relate to it. Because they're like, sometimes I need some space. And that means that I get to say that if I need it.
To learn to communicate.
Yeah.
That's the communication, right?
Yeah. Yeah, parenting is not what I thought. For sure. Yeah. Especially because I was blessed with twins. And I'm an only child. My husband's an only child. We have zero clue. Like we have no clue what the heck we're doing because we had no siblings. So the sibling rivalry and the fighting, that's so foreign to us, so new. So we, I think it affected us a lot more than because to us, we were always preached to saying, you're missing out. Oh, people felt sorry for us that we're only children, right? Like they make us feel like, oh my God, poor you. I'm looking at my children going, are you kidding me? Poor you people, because I didn't have to deal with this. No, but it is like, like when you're growing up, you're always made to feel like, oh, you're so spoiled. You're this, you get everything. No, the pressure was all on us. So one child, you have to be successful. You have to be, there's so much pressure. But with the children, it's been difficult because not only do we have two, but we have identical twins who are now going through this identity crisis. They don't want to look like each other. It really bothers them that, people don't know who they are. So, managing and like just those big emotions. And it is, they're 11 going on 17. And yeah, it's not what I expected. Right. So
Remind me.
Okay. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, fair. Okay, parenting. So to give you background, I, for a long time, worked with kids. So I did a bunch of things. Like I worked in childcare centers. I was a nanny for a lot of years. I quit a sales job to go back to nannying and starting a nanny agency. And I loved working with kids. I helped raise a lot of kids in different settings. And I still have kids to this day who now make me feel really old, but are off to university and are like, I really remember that time that you worked with our family. So I loved what I did and I loved kids. What I didn't realize was how effing different that would be than having your own children, and how I wouldn't love it all the time, how you couldn't go home, how the pressure I felt about, this little like person who would like mirror back the things that I was clearly doing as well, like how triggering that would be for me, how I would be like all consumed and like feel like I lost my identity in motherhood at various times. Like, so I underestimated just how hard it would be. And I remember when my daughter was a baby, there was someone who I'd been working for at one point, and I'd get so irritated by this mother. I'd be like, I'm never going to do these things when I'm a mother and like whatever. And then I remember crying with this newborn baby and being like, so-and-so wasn't crazy. She was just a mom, It wasn't what I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
No one could prepare you for like what it's like to be a mom,
It's
right?
difficult, right? Because kids don't do what we say. They do what we do. That's the most important part, right? They do what you do. So you can say what you want.
Yes.
Right.
It's hard too. I find, you two maybe can relate because we came from countries that we didn't have a lot. And then we are giving these kids a different experience. But I was expecting my children to feel
Grateful.
Yes, grateful 100%. But also that, we came from nothing and we built and I helped out and I was part of the process. But they don't have that experience.
They will in about 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like my son is recognizing that now.
Yeah.
And even my daughter, like they're starting to recognize, this is now when they have to work and see how much things cost. If they want to buy something for themselves, they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you live in this nice house or you drive nice cars or whatever, like you said, built from nothing and knowing that we came.
Yeah.
For me, it was opposite, like being 5. I am like the oldest of 5. So I was always a mother, I feel. I feel a mother since I was born.
You are.
So,
You're a wine tour.
I know, I'm on the wine tour.
I would never go on any other wine
I know,
tour.
I go
but with
and
her.
even whenever people are around, I'm like, this or that, like I always look at the people and see where they are. And I'm very big empath, so I can feel people's energy.
But
I know, like people can smile in my face, but I can feel where they are at the moment they are.
That's so important, like the difference between sympathy and empathy, right?
Yeah.
Like putting yourself in that person's shoes and thinking, how must they feel, right?
Yes. It's a tough one though. But, I also feel because it came where there was much more emotions, much more happening than just growing up most of the time. If you had parents here and parents that loved you, people don't I think even with Mark, he can never understand me 100%. No. He wants to, and he gives that listening ear, but he can never understand how it feels to, feel that trauma for whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're wanting them to understand something that they've never lived through.
Yes.
And that we can talk about it. It's like, people that I'm going to go on like war, right? Because we never experienced war. We can only hear through the stories, but we'll never really understand unless we go through that experience. Yeah. So our children are going through an experience that they never had.
Yes.
But I was expecting them to feel the same grateful,
So I'm your children. I'm a first generation Canadian.
Yeah.
And I heard all those stories from my parents who were, fled by horse and wagon for 40 days over the Alps in a prairie wagon. the bomb's coming and my dad's the oldest and he has to drive one of the, right? And then the soldiers come and they want to take advantage of the girls. And my mom had already lost her parents, right? So this whole, as the one that is, you know, they've made me do German school and Austrian dancing. And German was my first language. And even as a teenager, I was like horrified that I had to do these things because I'm like, I am so not cool right now. And now I'm like so grateful.
Yes, it's
So grateful.
It's important.
Yeah. And I have a deep respect, deep respect for them.
Shining moments. That's what I say to my kids. Remember that, you know, it is a privilege to be able to ride your bicycle in the street. My kids have only been here 5 years, so they've experienced some of it, right? But my little one, I see, and he was the one who actually had to head away most times because everyone had an escape plan, right? All my kids knew. All my kids could lock, load, and use a gun at the age of 4, which is not something that kids here understand even.
Not
they
at
get
all.
like a, you know, anxiety attack if they just think about a gun, right? But at the end of the day, the longer they are, it's a different perception that you get. It becomes a gratitude rather than an anxiety, right?
Well, it just came to me. I'm sorry, I'm just going to quickly. When I first time took my kids back to Montenegro, I think Ligor was about, I think they were 5 and like 6 and 3. And oh my gosh, he was thinking everybody's yelling. Like he's like, why is all these people yelling? You know, we're all such a loudspeaker and everything. And then second time, they totally have different experience. Okay, they knew what they're expecting. So it is
passionate people.
Passionate people.
We talk loud. That's it. We're not fighting.
We talk loud.
We talk loud. And the more we talk, the more louder we get.
The more passionate.
But nobody's going to tell you you're yelling. So I'm coming from the big family, 7 of us. So when we're talking and joking, it's okay. But if we are in talking, like in a, you know, we are having some serious, my parents would always say, don't yell. I'm thinking I'm talking like this all the time, but now you hear me yelling.
Exactly.
I remember you saying something about how like once when you and Mark were first together, how he would be like, oh, should I jump in to like save you from a sibling argument?
I know.
You're
He's like basically,
quiet,
we learn, this is something that I learned through the years that say, okay, do not get into if we are arguing or talking, whatever you hear, do not come out.
Do not get your glove in this ring.
Just ignore it. And my youngest sister is 17 years with her husband, and I love he's Lebanese, he's Arabic guy, and he knows also. But when we come and when we have these arguments, who, what, how, whatever, all the opinions come into mix. It's 7 of us, and he's just on his phone scrolling. And I'm like, how do you do this? Like, I would be like, okay, at least I will go for a drive. I'm not listening to this. No, he just scrolls.
I love
like
it.
smart guys. And then by then, did you want tea, coffee? Like, you're all good. Love you. Nice to see you all. See you tomorrow.
We'll be same place, same time. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, what's one of the most important... wait, sorry, I can't read. What's the best thing your parents ever taught you? Oh.
I can start. Like my parents, again, I would go from myself because when we were young, again, you're judging your parents for everything. The way they dress, the way they talk, the way they eat, the way what they're teaching me. But at this point, not at this point, like even as soon as I had my kids, I was like, OMG, my mom had 5. And with a man from Balkans, and you know that they are not really house guys that can help you do anything in a house. It's all on her. Plus, they run the business, and sometimes many of them. And she's like, soldier. I'm like so impressed. It's the loyalty, respect other people, and definitely elders. At any time, even when you're thinking, why are you talking to me like that? Remember, they're elders. At some point, you deserve to say whatever you want, I would say. And never to do anything to someone that you wouldn't want someone to do to yourself. I would say I always keep myself accounted for that. even when sometimes I want to say no to certain things, when the friend is like, oh, they want to do this or that, and you don't really feel it, and you're like, how would you want them to answer you?
Thank you,
at this
Sanela,
point?
for always showing up.
I
thought she's talking about me.
I swear I did. It happened many times, many times through life when you have. And I think this is why I'm blessed at 42 now, like having some lifelong friends and family friends and just casual friends that stay and really good that you can trust and count on. Mm-hmm. And I'm teaching my kids the same.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So I'm definitely a mix of my mom and dad, and their energies and what they brought to the relationship with each other, but also in the way that I related to them. My dad was definitely more of the feminine in the way that he was more of the softer caretaker, and my mom was more the driver, and she needed to be in control because of her history. So they were a perfect match for each other in that way, and they worked together and did everything together. And what I probably have learned the most from them is, like, my dad, he passed away in 2019 after moving here. And he's the one person when I talk about can bring me to tears because he's such a beautiful human being. And I feel his hands. I can just feel his presence with me all the time. And so he's always with me. I almost feel like I can hear his voice when I have a question, or when I'm just having like, hey, Dad, I can hear whatever he has to tell me. And it's always carried with me. And my mom's feisty, and she was a survivor. Like, she had a very, very tough upbringing. And I feel like I'm a lot like her. And I know that she can get criticized a lot because she's so tough, but she's got the biggest heart. And I just have so much respect for what she has come through, and to witness them together and the honoring, like, even though my mom can sometimes be a little bit of a complainer, my dad would always just have grace for her for everything. And so they just really taught me what it really means to be in it, and hard workers, and to just be grateful for where you came from. Mm-hmm. And be grateful for what you have and what the gifts that you have to share in this world, and to just go for it. Just go for it.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have grown up in the same house because respect was the one thing that was drilled into us, like, over and over and over. If someone is 10 years older than you, you call them aunt. That's it. Mm-hmm. There's no, this first name basis. My kids were really freaked out when we got here because they were like, oh, what do you say? What do you say? I'm like, well, you call them ma'am and sir. You still keep that because that is important, right? It shows a different level of respect because it's just different, right? So that is one important thing. And also do unto others as you would like to have done unto you. For me, I always say, put yourself in those shoes. If you wouldn't like them to do that, then don't do it. Same goes in a relationship. If you don't want me to do that, same with kids. It's the same thing, right? So that was definitely one of the things. And then never giving up. Doesn't matter, life is 10% of what happened to you, 90% of what you make of it. It doesn't matter where you come from or what traumas you went through or how bad it's been or how many mistakes you've made. It's 90% what you make of it. So it's choices, right? And both my parents grew up really, really hard. I remember my stepdad, who for most of it is my dad, he adopted us when we were 2 years old. He grew up so hard. I remember sitting outside and with my grandfather, and he was reading like the family Bible, and he said, like, look, there's your name. And my grandmother, I don't even like to call her that, forgiven her now, but you know what? We don't have to sit at the tables of the people that hurt us. And she just came out and she's like, well, you don't belong in that book. Your name doesn't belong there. And how does a 4-year-old, go through that process? But I'm just thinking how difficult it must have been for my dad, because he must have felt so torn in those moments because we were led to believe we are these bastard kids, right? Mm. So how difficult must that have been? And just carrying on, just kind of pushing through. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful, that I came to the point where I could take all the hurt and the trauma and the rejection and mold that into, propelling me forward in life.
Mm-hmm. That's what strong women do.
That's what strong women do, right?
And I didn't mention that one, but also, like you said, same, like I definitely don't give up. Mm-hmm. I'm freaking on dying bed and I'm still like...
But that's But you know what? I also learned a very important lesson there, because we can take that and we can break ourselves. I worked myself into hospital twice. So there's balance. There's learning what that word of never giving up. I came from an excruciating entrepreneurial country where I don't even think there's enough sun to shine on one person, let alone on everyone. They're like dog eat dog world, right? So it's learning to honor you and listening to you. And it's okay, because if we honor ourselves and we do the things that we know we need to do, the rest will come. Mm-hmm. Same as Mum set the tone for the day, right? If we wake up and we scream and blah, 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 everyone's in a tiff the whole day. But I've learned that because I used to be a screamer. I used to be a champion freaking screamer, right? I could rock it.
Just learning.
Yeah. But you know what? To just in the mornings wake up and I can tell Alexa to just play some calming instrumental. And Alexa kind of keeps me calm. My one son is like, oh, shit. You need to be zen today. And it's important, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny. Kids are always like watching us. Like when you said you were a screamer, like I'm really trying to work on my patience and like my reactive things. But so the other day, Evie says to me, hey, Mom, I've noticed you're really trying to be calm. Now, I did hear you banging a spatula on the counter the other day. But I've noticed you've been really trying.
Look at that.
I love it.
Noticing to see that, you know what, Mom also has flaws, gives her that room to know when she makes mistakes or that, you're open. You're open to accept her like that. It's okay. I had a moment yesterday where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to Costco. I'm going alone now because I need to be alone right now. Right now, I need to process some things, right?
So how many people did you see in Costco that you know in town?
I was very incognito.
Yeah.
Like in moments like that, I'm very focused because I know I need to just be, I've got stuff to do and I still carry on. I'm not going to sit in a heap and cry my eyes out, but I need to process it. And for me, I need to walk. Everyone knows I need to bloody walk. So, why don't you have your earbuds in and you just do la, 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 and don't take your shitty attitude out on the people around you because it's your shit. It's no one else's shit, right? Mm-hmm. And I was glad no one died. Everyone made it. Everyone at Costco was okay. It was so good because I got home and my kids looked at me like, you look like you feel better. I'm like, yeah, I left my shit in Costco. Right? And it's okay.
And I brought you cake.
And cake and cheese and meat and all the other stuff that really I didn't need. I spent $600. Yeah, no, totally. I can relate on all of the stories, having tough parents coming from being the only child, being a refugee and so on and so forth. What I got from my parents was the sense of what family really means. Mm-hmm. And even when I was pissed at my parents and we worked the family business, like we worked together. When we were refugees in Austria, we lived in a hotel room for a year. And then we were lucky because we had a bathroom in our hotel room. Other ones did not. My parents worked. My dad stood with a sign on the street, saying, looking for work. Like, how humbling is that? Like, I cannot imagine myself standing on the street going, looking for work.
Huge.
Right? So just like going back, but they've never made me feel like I was less than or that we had less than other people. So I didn't grow up feeling that way. They made it such an amazing space and just an experience, of us living in a hotel. Yeah, we're like, woohoo, we had a bathroom. We're all so happy we have a bathroom, right? I walked to school back and forth by myself. And, my dad made sure that the kitchen staff had a meal for me. I played in the pool by myself for hours. Like, I was just thinking about it. I'm like, Jesus.
You're like, no,
my jacket, no bodyguard. It was just me in the pool.
Swim,
8 years old. I would never let my children by at 8 years old, right? But it's a different mentality, right? Different. I had to grow up really quickly. worked, the family business. We worked it together. When we came here, like literally, I know my mom doesn't like when I say that, but I have back issues because of all the mowing of the lawn. And snow shoveling. She's like, it's from you sitting on the floor doing homework. I'm like, no, Mom. Like, I was shoveling, 150 driveways at age 13.
It was your homework.
Until I was 27, I worked, even though, through university. Even when we had a fight, the next morning, I'm like, I'm not showing up to help my parents. Did I show up? Yeah, fuck yeah, I showed up because I know this is family, right? Yeah. Even though I had my school, I had my other jobs. Like I started my business at 19. I was working another thing. Like I worked my family business till I was 27 years old. And then I was like, okay, like I can't do it anymore. I hire some people. Right? Yeah, but that's the respect, the hard work and what it means to be family for me. And that's why I had my parents move in with us for their retirement because it's like come full circle. Because I lived with my grandparents when I was born. And there was no nursing homes. You took care of your family,
Exactly.
So it's just a different...
It's a village.
It's a village. And this is why still, I've worked in 12 years in retirement home. You still have like 1% people with the accent there. And it's usually probably if they didn't have kids or kid live across another country or something, or can't afford to have them with them. But most of the time you want to have people living that first generation, because to them, that's like your kids left you to die somewhere. Doesn't matter even if it's a 5-star amazing place, which I prefer. I prefer to live there. I'm not living with my kids. I'm not listening them. They're bullshit at...
Seriously, and you know what?
No.
It doesn't matter.
I want to drink at a happy hour.
It doesn't matter what your parents have done to you. It's you'll go back. You'll still help them. I remember volunteering, just going to an old age home in South Africa, and I was sitting there. I just visited the people. I didn't do much. I just go say hi because there's so many people that's alone, right? And I remember this lady sitting on her bed, and I was like, "So tell me a little bit." She goes, "You know what? I didn't even know I was coming here. And my kids just dropped me here. It's now been about 6 months or 8 months. I can't even remember." And she's like, "I've just never seen them again." And I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
How must that be? Like you put in all of this heart, all of this effort as a mom, right? Can you imagine them just packing their shit and leaving?
Yeah.
I'd be like, you know what? We want to have them come back. So we want to keep creating that space where we say, it's okay to fail. It's okay to win. Just come back. As long as I'm the first person you call when you screw up.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done my work right.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, what did my parents teach me? I think, my parents both grew up in big Catholic families. So my mom has 6 siblings and my dad has 8 siblings.
Oof.
So they're always, there was always a lot of people around. And I think something they taught me growing up was to always lend a hand. Like they would prep me before, every play date, if it was a sleepover. I reminding me to say please, reminding me to use my manners, reminding me to help out, clear my own plate, offer to clear other people's plates. And I think that actually ended up translating into my life as I got older, because I would do that even, in my 20s, if there was a house party, I'd help clean up after the house party.
Yes.
I mean,
even
you're a hard worker.
Clean up after to help people. And my parents, I think they taught me to do it even if people were resistant to the help, because you wanted to lend a hand. You wanted to show gratefulness for the person hosting and so on. And so that's something I learned from them. And I think that's been good. So
that's good, right?
Yeah.
It's important for us to do that. It's important for us to learn that, but not to make it like, you have to.
Yeah.
You make it, we do it because we have respect for others. As much as we have respect for ourselves, right? That's the important part. I think sometimes they learned us great I speak for myself here, but they learned us great tips and tricks in life, but it may be something in the wrong way, right? Like be bloody grateful.
I've said that so many times too. Sometimes like when you get mad at your kid and it's like, why can't you just be grateful? And it's like, well, maybe I haven't taught you what that means.
So let's go back. What is grateful? It's like teaching them to do the dishes. Just wash the dishes. But have you actually stood next to your kid and say, right, when I want you to wash the dishes, this is what I mean. This is how we wipe it. This is how we rinse it. And this is how
we just expect them to know.
We expect them to know everything, right? What the hell? But when we want to scream when they don't do it the way we want to do it, it's like, once again, sending them out on that sport field and saying, play this game, and then just blowing the whistle without giving them the rules. Show them, teach one. You know what? That's how it works.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, we weren't like going back. We weren't taught. Like I wasn't like, my parents didn't take the time to be like, oh, you have to do it this or that. You learned by watching your
That's what
parents.
I was going to say. They are watching us, but maybe washing dishes is not something that they want to watch. But you start talking something that they shouldn't be listening. They know.
Here they are.
They're different. Everyone doesn't learn like you learn. I've learned that with my boys. I mean, I've got boys, right? So with them, it's like you have to show them, this is what I expect. And this, you know what? Yeah. Exactly. From there, they can do it their own way because they're their own humans. They've got their own personalities. But at the end of the day, I don't care how you get there, but it needs to be bloody clean. You know, if I take out the plate and there's still some ketchup on it, it's going to be a problem.
So setting that expectation, it's going to be a problem. This is so fun. I just love this, what we're doing right now.
It is great.
But, okay, so what do you prefer not to do with your children that your parents did with you? Carien, we'll go backwards.
Well, I used to hear a lot about don't do this and don't do that and don't do this. So I don't do that with my kids at all. I never say don't. I always say I would like you to, and then tell them how I would like them to act differently. Because if we hear, our brain shuts down. When we hear don't, we have this invisible wall that goes up, right? Don't sit on that couch, or take your feet off that couch, or don't do that, it's going to do that. We shut down, and it hurts. It hurts us because now we're thinking, I'm bad. But rather to be softer and saying, I would rather prefer you to do it this way because, and give them a reason. Because I used to be that kid, like, why? Why?
Me too.
Why?
Oh, me too.
Why? I remember now thinking back how my mom and my dad used to look at each other and I need to know. Like, if you're going to tell me something my life works in, I need some data here, people. I need some like published studies. Like, where do we go from here, right? So it's important for me to tell them why I say this, you know. Just this morning, I take real pride in growing bloody microgreens in my house, right? It's a lot of effort to grow microgreens in your house, right? You have to rinse that shit like 5 times a day for the first 5 days and then once a day. It's a lot, right? But I do it because it's really important to them. And they eat it most times because we eat breakfast together. But this morning, they had breakfast alone. Like, I was busy with something else. And I got to the bin and there was the microgreens. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I'm going to poop my pants right now because I get so upset. So I had to just send them a little text and say, there's a reason why I give you these microgreens. This is the facts. I gave them a little screenshot of the facts. Why? This is why I give it to you, and know that why the reason I grow it and nurture it is because I love you enough to want you to care. You know, I want you to be healthy. I want you to get the benefits from that. It's not just pumping iron at the gym. It's about feeding the body, right? So send this little message and then I just go back, I'm so sorry, right? So it's important. I don't know. They might eat it tomorrow morning. If, you know, if I sit there, they will definitely eat it. Just kidding.
But you're not.
I love it.
But it's important, right? To tell them why.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, my parents, because of their background and how they grew up, they never talked about feelings. They didn't talk about what they were thinking or why they were thinking that way. So we didn't have that depth of connection the way that a lot of people today do, where I think it's a little bit to the extreme the other way, right? Where it's like, you know, I still want there to be a friendly relationship, but I'm ultimately not your best friend.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been really about having communication's a massive, massive thing in my world. And so it's very important for me to be able to have these conversations to get to the truth and to be willing to say what's hard so that she can also learn that she can say things that are hard. And she can also say what's really real and true for her without worrying about what that's going to feel like for me. Because as a stepmom, some of the things that she's going to be feeling is because I'm her stepmom. So giving her that space to feel safe. It's not that my parents didn't give me the space to feel safe, but I just didn't go to them. I suppressed all my emotions. So that's where, I was married before. And so going through my divorce was really the first time I ever really had to really learn how to feel. And so I feel like she's really mature for her age. I feel like she's really mature with her emotions and she has the space to be able to share that. And so I'm grateful for that. And
that's huge. That is so huge to feel that. I was exactly the same. I only felt that. So I was like, I'm mad right now. And then the person like, talk to me. And then he's like, maybe you're just sad about it, right? And then I was like, okay, yeah, I'm sad about it. And then I was like, and then I'm crying. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with this?
Totally.
Right? And just feel it. Just cry it out. Just cry it until you stop. Just stay right
I
here.
could not stop.
And I'm not a highly emotional person. So she's often looking to me and she's like, because she never sees me cry very often. She does see me angry, but it was like, I know from my coaching in the past and like one of the things that my coaches have always tried to get me in touch with is my anger. Just like, I'm just not angry. But when I became a stepmom, I was like, oh, there
You're like,
it is.
there's that anger. Parenting button.
Yeah.
This is what they were talking about.
This is what that anger felt like.
I would definitely say the same thing. Like, I think again, that's from their generation that was survival.
Survival mode, yeah.
And it's always survival mode. So you don't have time. Like, when did they have time really to sit and talk or think about our emotions? But, and I think definitely that's the one that I had to, like, I don't think they ever told us, I love you.
Oh my gosh, I was going to say the same thing.
Like, I love you or kiss us. I think the kisses, the New Year and the birthday is like, oh, happy birthday. Yeah. That's it. But there is no doubt, one hair on my head to think that they didn't love me. While we are telling these days to our kids millions of times and they're still questioning you for so many things, which makes no sense. And because we are...
It's true.
They're telling like to them and then they're going to be sad and this and that. So I definitely tried to, like, I was pretty much only a few years in Canada when I had my son. So I was still fresh off the boat, I would say, even if I came with the plane, people.
Yeah. Just FYI, she didn't roll it in.
But I love that line. Yeah. So I was still confused to say in certain things, but I didn't like that they were so, and the freedom too. Like, my dad was so strict about everything, and I wish he gave me a little bit more freedom to explore. And on the other side, my mom was, in my country where I'm from, like, that's the smallest country of former Yugoslavia. Oh my gosh, everything is about you. You do go to school and all that 9 yards. You have kind of your freedom, but everything is, the end game is like getting married.
Oh yes.
So you really, that's what it's about, getting married, having kids, and that's your purpose in life. So it took me probably 10 years because now I do have a kids and I'm married and I'm happy. And at one point, I loved my husband, I loved my kids, I loved my family, but I'm like, okay, so what now? Yeah, I'm 27, 8 years old. I'm like, this is it? Like, end game?
I know what you feel.
So I really tried to talk to them about their emotions. Like, when my son was like going through his teenager years and he has a girlfriend and it's a breakup, oh my God, end of the world. He wants to kill himself in a way. This is just figure of speech. But I would tell him, guess what? You're going to go next week to school and 4 girls going to hit on you. You're going to not remember her. And 2-3 times, this is one of the things that we would talk. And it was and he started actually listening to my advices, because in the end, this is just example, but when we do give them some tools that there is not the end of the world. Yes. Things are changing. And he's like, you were always right. Now, when we're talking, he's like, you were always right when we would talk about things. But it's a little bit more freedom, important. But not freedom that also some kids have. No, don't get me wrong. I have 16 years old. You're not going out till 1, 2 or whatever. You're not smoking, vaping, drinking. Like, you're, when she's like, can I have some, can I bring some alcohol? You can bring 3 ciders.
Right.
And do not take anything else anybody offering. Yeah. Yes. I mean, are they going to listen? I don't know. Maybe she does do things behind my back. Hopefully not. But I'm still trying to tell these are the rules. If you want to go travel and do things and stuff, which my father was opposed about anything. So I'm trying to be a little bit more freedom and definitely sharing emotions.
Definitely. It is.
Yeah, 100%.
So powerful. But giving them that toolbox.
Yeah.
Teaching
but also,
them you have a toolbox. This is how we can fill it. Let me help you put it in there. And because they're going to have to use that toolbox later. Mommy's not always going to be there to catch them when they're full, right? But you're going to help them and teach them how to use that toolbox of whatever it is that each of them require, right?
I think definitely first, like 5-6 years of parenting where you're just doing your old ways, but you're trying to improvise your parenting from your parents the best you can. They still, my son will come and tell me, well, you could have been more loving. And I thought I'm loving the most I ever loved anyone. And he said, you could have been more, loving or affectionate. Yes. And I thought I'm 150% affectionate. So it's also their perception, 100%. But again, I lived in Kelowna since 2004, which when he was born, basically, he was half a year old when we moved. And there was no immigration. Yeah. Everybody was here, 2nd, 3rd generation. Like, people thought I'm the most exotic thing here. Just because I have an accent, they were like, oh, you have an accent. I love your accent. But now there's more of that. But my first 10 years, it was
but you still got the compliment the other day. Oh my God, we love your accent. I could listen to your accent.
I love your accent.
So that was, and then, they would be embarrassed of me speaking our language for the first 5-6 years because there's no one else speaking our language. So it's like, please speak English. They just after when they went first time back home learning the language, now they can talk behind people's back. That's when they started appreciating.
Okay. Okay, so my parents are quite different. So I'm sure my mom's listening to this, but sorry, Mom. But my mom's a bit passive-aggressive and my dad's a bit explosive. And I grew up in this house where you often had to guess other people's emotions because they weren't saying what they really meant. So my dad, my mom, she'll still do this to this day. She's like, something will happen. You'll ask a question. She's like, nope, that's fine. Yep, fine. Yep, fine, no problem. But that's not fine. You're just not saying what's not fine. And my dad, sometimes you can see that he's frustrated, or you could as a kid and you didn't want to ask him because, you didn't know what response you'd get. It'd be like a 0 level-headed or like a 10 or 100, right? So what I try to do for my kids that my parents didn't do, or I felt, I guess in my experience growing up with them, they didn't do, is be honest about their feelings. And so even an example, the other day we're having this struggle with Parker. We get to the school, I kind of yanked him out of the car maybe a little more vigorously than I should have. I was frustrated. And then I was getting all hyped up about this drop-off situation. And then all of a sudden he just started crying. He was like, you're just so frustrated at me. And I said,
look at the big word.
And I knew, and I was like, you know what? I am frustrated, but not at you. I need a minute. And then we talked about why I was frustrated. But I always try to do that for them. I always try to say, you know what? I am frustrated. Or like Evie's always like, she bought these pants and she won't wear them and she begged me for them. And I was like, yeah, I'm frustrated because I spent money on these pants. You said you really wanted them. And, but I was like, that's on me for buying the pants, agreeing to the pants and not figuring out all this before. So I'm annoyed about that, but I'm not frustrated at you and all this stuff. So I like to really be clear about, yes, I am angry. I don't like to lie to them if I'm angry, if I'm frustrated, if I'm sad. I like to say, yeah, I am these feelings. Because they can see it and they watch and they know.
And it's not confusing for them. And
it's not confusing.
They can recognize it.
Yeah, but kudos to you that your kids knows the word frustrated.
Oh,
right.
I guess I use it a lot.
Yeah, no, but it's important because a lot of people don't know that emotion. Coming from where I'm from, it's not something we talked about, right?
He said,
no, it wasn't
It's
even
anger.
that. It was like you either get screamed at, or my mom told us she loved us, and my dad would like have this side hug, they have these these pats. But having those kids being aware of that and being able to recognize it in a situation like that, that's huge, Mom.
Oh,
that's freaking huge.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Okay, Bella?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, I guess, saying I love you and hugging my kids a lot more, because again, we come from countries where you didn't hug and tell your kids you love them. My parents, what they did is they showed me through action. I think that's why my love language was acts of service, because that's what was shown to me from an early age is, we don't say, I love you. I'm sorry. Are you kidding me? There's no freaking, I'm sorry. I'm sorry came, whoever spoke first was the sorry one, or tried to make you laugh or poke you or do something, to make you laugh, to break that silence because they knew they messed up. So what I'm doing now with the kids is like when I get, heated and let's say I say something that I probably shouldn't have said, I take a moment and then I come back and I'm like, okay, girls, I am really sorry that I spoke this way. I shouldn't have. And they're like, it's okay, Mommy. I'm like, well, it's not okay, but I will try to do better. And they're like, yeah, Mommy, we will try to do better too. We will try. So that's the conversation. It's admitting that, I'm sorry, because we do. I'm trying to give myself a little bit more grace because we do also have emotions and anger is one of them. And sometimes, you raise your voice, you say something, you do something, right? Where at the end you feel like shit, really. But coming to them and admitting that you did something wrong and apologizing and saying what you will do better and that I will try.
That's huge. Yeah, the repair, that's huge.
That is huge. I remember when my kids were small, that's what that was important to me because I never got a sorry, never got a apology. I never even got the whoever spoke first. I just got the cold shoulder and, you're just not worth the moment right now. But I told my kids, like even when they were really small and they used to take each other's toys or whatever, to stop in the moment and then say, I'm sorry, but I had whoever he did it to say back, I forgive you. Yeah. You might not feel like it in the moment, but forgiving someone is an action. And then from there, we work through the emotion. So just saying that makes them realize there's something on my part as well that I need to do, right? Not just fine, because now we crop up, because now I was hurt and I said sorry, but what am I doing with that, right? I'm letting it fester within me. Yeah. But by saying I forgive you,
yeah, I love how I made my kids sorry.
Oh yeah, when I said so
I forgive you. Like that's their answer, but I will make them say, I'm like, I can't hear you. You'll say it over and over until it's legible.
Until you believe it. And when they're saying sorry to like a sibling, sorry, like totally.
Sometimes we feel like that in adults. Even I feel sometimes when I know I screwed up and I have to say sorry, I'm like, shit. Sorry. He's like, did you really mean it? I'm thinking in my head, no. But yes, I did. I'm saying it.
Exactly. But it's that frustration.
You and the
all of that.
therapist agreed.
Get it out. I used to take a newspaper, like in the time when my kids were really frustrated, and I used to hold it like a full newspaper, and I'd be like, right, I'm going to hold this. You punch through it. And then when you punch through it, you think of something that makes you mad, right? And if they can't do it, then I take one paper. I'm like, okay, go. Until they break through it, because they need to see the action of going on. Do you know how many rolls of toilet paper we took and made little balls and threw against the wall? Like, give it a name. Give it an outside, though, not inside. But give it a name. Give it a person's name. Because sometimes little kids are assholes sometimes at school and they hurt, right? They hurt our feelings and our emotions. So get it. What's his name? Let's throw it against the wall, right? They have to know that is an action that they have to do.
Yes.
They don't have to hold on to it.
I definitely talk to my kids about that when it comes. And I think I kind of started at the same time when they were 10, 11 years old to recognize, okay, I'm reacting. I should tell them why I'm reacting like this. And we had more conversation. You will catch yourself in 10 years, you're growing with your kids because in the end, you're learning who they are. Because you're recognizing, okay, this kid is going to deal more it's going to have more things like their father, so you have to come differently. And when I was parenting both the same, it wasn't. Grigor is much more similar to me. Eva is more similar to her dad. So I had to recognize, because we were butting constantly, me and her, and I was like, okay, I have to step back, recognize that she's more sensitive, more this, that I had to do, and it changed our relationship so much. But she was 13, so 13 years I was failing.
You were learning.
When we were speaking in the beginning about that part where you're like giving yourself grace, I was constantly having that in the back of my, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have million things. And I'm just now saying, you know what? I did the best I could or knew.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the grace that I'm like, I'm trying, I gave you the tools, I'm still there for you, I'm not going anywhere. And if they come in, when they come in, like my son is more the one that will talk, well, remember this. And I'm saying, you know what? At that time, I have to accept that instead of like your mom. Remember, that's why I laughed when you said about your mom in the back. Because if I come to my mom or dad and say, well, you shouldn't have done that, they're like, my parents could say, we never done that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I never did that. Yeah, it's erased. Because, we're always laughing about it, actually, me and my siblings.
Yeah, it's not about that they had a different experience of our childhood
that's a good one.
than we did. And now if we say anything that goes against their experience, no, we're wrong. They're right. Did not happen like that. Yeah. We did this, and you should be like this.
Yes.
I'm like, well, but that's not the point, Mom. Like,
exactly.
The experience. So I know my kids will experience their childhood differently than what I experienced their childhood.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm trying, though, to remind myself, with now my parents being older and me being 42, you have now people in 60s and my dad's going to be 70. I say, you know what? If they didn't get it up to now, they won't. Yeah. So sometimes people get stuck and it's destroying their relationship, or they're getting irritated with their parents and it's destroying that because they're stuck because they are not who you think they should be. Yes. So at this point, I love my parents. They love me. What is there to talk? Let's enjoy this time and respect each other, love each other, as long as they are respected to you now, which they are. My parents are amazing towards all our kids. And I'm like, I'm not taking away that from me to live in something coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah. No. No, you shouldn't. And it's like Bella said, is to go back and say, I'm sorry. I've had to do that with my eldest so many times, to go, geez, dude, I remember this time, and, I did that out of my lack of knowledge. I apologize. Forgive me. When you're ready to talk about it, come to me, because then I can give you a little bit more clarity, right? I remember my mom, after everything that happened, she was in tears once, and she just came to me and she washed my feet, and she just cried over my feet, and she just apologized. She said, I did what I knew I did, and in the moment what I thought was best. Meet people where they're at. Stop putting bars on people that's not valid, and stop keeping your eyes on people, because we're all human. We all have flaws, right? Just be graceful to yourself as much as you are to others as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was holding my mom's hand because I visited her in Calgary just this last week, and I'll crawl into bed with her at nighttime. And when my dad was still alive, and I had already moved to Kelowna, and I'd go back and I would crawl into bed with them, and I would be in the middle, and it would just be savoring the sounds that I was hearing, everything that I could come back to, remembering this powerful experience, and feeling their hands in my hands, and feeling the texture, and seeing what that looks like. And it's just these are moments to treasure.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, and my sister, I have an older sister that's 5.5 years older, and she was like a mom to me in a lot of ways, because my parents were working all the time. And she didn't have it easy, because I was fiercely independent, and you're not my mom, you can't tell me what to do. She always had to deal with that. And she's in Calgary now, helping my mom, not taking care of her because she's very vital, but she helps with her and sees her every single day, and helping with the business and stuff too still. So I'm just so grateful for what they fostered in us, even though they didn't tell us how to do it, by their beingness.
But look at that. Kids don't do what we tell them to do. They do what we do, what we show them to do, right?
Yeah.
Just be friendly to your brother. That's fine. And then I'm fighting and I'm being like this on the side. They're like, what the hell? They're like, this is such a conflicting message.
You're confusing us. Our childhood was so confusing. That's what they're going to come back at.
I was so confused. Yeah. Oh, well, that was so fun.
Yeah, it is time, you guys.
I guess we have to wrap it up, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this
Thank
was
you for having us.
So great.
Thank you so much.
So much wisdom in this circle.
Yes.
I learned a lot today. I love that.
I think I want to host one at my home just to continue talking.
I know.
Exactly.
Let's just switch this off and eat this
bring it to Sanela's. Continue.
Thank you so much.
We are so grateful for the season and everybody that's been on our podcast. We're so grateful for you three ladies that, showed up multiple times for us and for the community. And I'm getting goosebumps. And thanks for supporting us. And
thanks for being part of our first celebration of a year of podcasting.
And what a beautiful experience for the listeners to even think about for themselves what they might want to come to and circle and share with their sisters.
For sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Raw and unfiltered. There is not a lot of that. And I want to commend you on that because that's huge. We're living in an age where people are too scared to say something because they're too scared to offend someone or hurt their feelings or looking like they have flaws, because it needs to be this picture perfect. You know what? Shit's real. Yes. I love it. Thank you so much for that. You keep doing you, girls.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Well, till next year, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, bye.
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 Adios.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and that you feel more empowered, moved, and inspired.
Be sure to check out the show's description and follow us on social media at Let's Not Sugarcoat It Podcast on both Instagram and Facebook.
Also, check out our YouTube channel where you can view and subscribe to our latest episodes.
What you have to say matters, so send us your feedback and ideas on what you'd like us to talk about so we can serve you better.
And remember, motherhood is a team sport.